scholar of Dr. King's teachings, a pastor, a peacemaker, a bit of a world traveler, and a nonviolence trainer. And I just wanted to, in light of the words that we continue to hear expressing a man who I consider to be one of our greatest peacemakers in history, expressions that he would support the annihilation of Palestinian people have been overwhelming. So I wanted to take some time here today in my reflections with you to share some words that Dr. King shared on April 4th, 1967, exactly 1 year before he was assassinated.
Yeah.
When he stood in Riverside Church and shared why he opposed the war in Vietnam. He said things that I believe resonate and will truly strike us here today. He said, even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom and in the surrounding world. Moreover, when the issues at hand seem as perplexing as they often do in the case of this dreadful conflict, we are always on the verge of being mesmerized by uncertainty. But we must move on.
Amen.
And some of us have already begun to break the silence of the night, have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony. But we must speak.
Yes.
We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate to our limited vision, but we must speak. And we must rejoice as well, for surely this is the first time in our nation's history that a significant number of its religious leaders have chosen to move beyond the prophesying of smooth patriotism to the high grounds of firm dissent, based upon the mandates of conscience and the reading of history. Perhaps a new spirit is rising among us. I believe that. You believe a new spirit is rising among us?
Yeah.
If it is, let us trace its movements and pray that our own inner being may be sensitive to its guidance. For we are deeply in need of a new way beyond the darkness that seems so close around us. I say to Dr. King's words, delivered, I don't think it's a coincidence, exactly 1 year before he was assassinated, amen. And then I also want to express a sentiment that I started to think about on my drive into town today, the idea that people are expendable.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest cry that I want to make to humanity is that we see no group of human beings as expendable. And I think one of the things that has resonated with me, even with friends that I've lost since October 7th, who have concluded that since I don't see Palestinian as expendable, that I must see Jewish people as expendable, which is not true. And what I really want to convey to them is that I seek in life to see no group of people as expendable.
That's right.
And in this hour of humanity, I believe that it is essential that anything in us that has convinced us that any group of people is less than, and that we can be on earth without them, we have to cleanse ourselves from that.
Yes.
Any history, any religion, any teaching we've learned from parents or Sunday school or any place we've ever been that would teach us that it's okay that 30,000 Palestinians perish and that we have to choose. And I feel like today we're being asked always to choose. Do you care about Jewish people or do you care about Palestinian people? Do you care about Israeli people or do you care about people in Gaza?
Preach it.
And I wanted to stand firmly with you all today to express that in this hour, I believe one of the things we have to utter with certainty is that there are no expendables. Amen. And that Palestinian people are not expendable. That no hostages are expendable. That when we stand firmly together, and it's not about what we're against, but it's about what we're for, that if we say we are for every human being being treated with dignity, then we have to call for a ceasefire now.
Amen.
Yes.
and not a limited ceasefire, but a ceasefire that will allow humanity to work together, to work toward true peace, not just in the Middle East, but all over the world. And so I wanted to stand with you today, just in expression to say, Palestinians are not expendable. And I wanted you to, when I say that, whatever your word is that you use for affirmation, I wanted you to share that in the atmosphere, that I say Palestinians are not expendable.
Amen.
Absolutely. As we look at what's happening now across the world, Congolese people are not expendable.
Amen.
Sudanese people are not expendable.
Amen.
Haitian people are not expendable.
Amen.
The people in this country who have been oppressed over the course of years are not expendable. And I want us to stand in that, and I want to encourage us to not be engaged in the language that will separate us from this one ideal that we can create in this world house of a loved community. And we can do that by eradicating racism, war, and poverty. And I believe that is a work that if we do it together, it is possible. But we have to believe. And I want you to say this with me. No one is expendable.
No one is expendable.
Thank you.
Amen.